Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Florian. I am a volunteer for PMI Switzerland. I will be your host for this evening. It's a very special evening because we have a super interesting topic, stakeholder management, by one of the most reputable speakers in the world. Before we continue, as always, some logistics. I think those who are familiar with PMI should be very familiar with this, but we have to go through that. As you know, you will be muted during the presentation. All the interactions, please, over chat or Q&A. It's going to be recorded. So after the call, it's going to be available on YouTube. There will be some polls. It's not mandatory to participate, but it's highly recommended. We're having one coming up right now in a couple of moments. As I said, for your questions, please use the Q&A option. I think it should be below your screen. And we will send you the slides after the event. And we have blocked some time at the end for Q&As. Just in case we cannot answer all the questions, we will do our best. And Peter just promised that. We'll do our best to send you the answers to the questions that are not answered afterwards by email. So I was mentioning Paul. As always, we want to know where you're joining from. It's a very big map here. You should see the poll right now. And just click on your location. I know we should have at least 2 people dialing from outside of Switzerland, but really curious about the rest of you. All right. So yeah, as always, quite a lot of participants from Switzerland, but quite a lot from, well, I see other European countries, few Asia Pacific, North America, Central South America. So welcome everybody. That's truly global, isn't it, this event? Let's look at the agenda for tonight. So as always, we'll have a quick look at what happened in 2020 for PMI Switzerland. I'll tell you a bit more about our speaker in a moment. And then Peter will take over with a presentation on stakeholder management and why they regularly ignore reports. I guess something we're all familiar with that event, ignoring the information we send. And then at the end, we'll have some closing remarks, some surprises for the upcoming events. Probably already had a look at our events page, but just in case, we have a slide at the end with what's coming up. And also to keep in touch on social media and the PDU for those who are certified. So 2020 was, well, obviously a bad year for many people. It wasn't that bad. Some good things have happened in 2020, or I hope. So for PMI, there were quite a lot of events. You see some of them here. Now, I'm a geek, so I normally look at numbers. So you see quite a lot of events happened, well, quite a lot virtually. But if you look at the numbers, we have quite a lot of volunteers, more than 80 volunteers, and more than 1,500 members, which is, I would say, not so bad in terms of what we do. So this was last year. Again, because I like numbers, I'm really looking forward to see the numbers for 2021. And for sure, we'll see more events in person. Just a little bit of teasing for the slide presenting the upcoming events at the end. So with that, let's welcome Stefan with some announcements and I think the keyword that everybody's waiting for. Stefan?
Yes, hello, thank you very much, Florian. Hello to all from all over Europe, from outside Europe and from the States. Welcome to our beautiful Switzerland. And I'm sure you all know this place, maybe not yet, but very soon. I think if we look to this image, we all feel like to be in the mountain. And so this is something that we in Switzerland, we like very much. And we want to invite you, our attendees, our guests, our friends, to stay one night in one of these most beautiful hotels. And why we want to invite you? Not just for fun, but for celebration. This year we have 20 years anniversary of PMI Switzerland. And so we decided it's not only a good point for us and a celebration for us, we want to celebrate with you, and we want to invite one of you to stay for a beautiful night in one of the mountains in Switzerland. And so we created a game, and you are invited to take part in this game. As I said, we have 20 years anniversary, and so we make a game with 20 words, that we offer to all our attendees and all our events. So if you join 20 events this year, you will get 20 words and you can take part in this game and in this chance to stay in the mountain. But yes, for sure, not everyone, or mostly no one, will have time all the 20 events. But for this, we record our events. As this event is recorded, for example, and we put all our records to the YouTube channel, where you can check the event that you have not joining, but also where you can find all the words. And really, it's a little bit work maybe, but it's worth to stay in a one night with your spouse in a Swiss mountain. You will get a voucher if you are the winner, and you will enjoy the life there. And so, not to stop more from Peter's talk, I want to give you the word to take part in this game. The word that we offer this time is the word number 10, and it is creativity. It's somehow related to reports, as we will see in a minute. But the opportunity to be here with you, I want to add something, especially for my friends, for all our members in PMI Switzerland, for our celebration party. So save the date. The 5th of September will be our celebration date. We will meet in Bern on a Sunday afternoon for a barbecue for free. So please mark it into the calendar. Check out our webpage. In a few days, we will publish the event so you can register. And it will be a beautiful party. I'm looking forward to meet you there, to drink with you, to have a barbecue with you. Okay, you have to do it yourself. It's a big barbecue. I hope we see, and now enjoy Peter and the rest of the event. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you, Stefan. So you have the word, which is creativity. You're invited to the party, and I think you heard right, it's a barbecue. I think this might be the first barbecue post-COVID, fingers crossed. I think in case you are all tired of barbecues over Zoom, this is going to be a real life barbecue. So let's talk about the presentation tonight. So we have Peter to talk about stakeholder management and basically why they ignore the tons of information we're sending to them. I think we all know the theory of stakeholder management very well. It's also an area where we have lots of risks, lots of issues, and usually it's one of the areas that make our lives as project managers quite hard. Now, can that be improved? Obviously, yes. There are lots of things we can learn, we can apply, and I think tonight's presentation is pretty much in line with that. So some of the things that would make our lives easier as project managers in dealing with stakeholders. Peter is quite famous for a lot of things, and all of them are truly remarkable. But probably the most remarkable thing is to actually write a business book with the word lazy in the title, and a quite successful one, if I may say so. So Peter has built and led some of the biggest PMOs in the world for organizations like IBM, Siemens. He was awarded this PMO Influencer of the Year in 2020. Quite famous for this. So I'm not going to take too much time. Let's join Peter to explore the world of project reporting, communications, engagement with stakeholders, and how do we actually make people to care about our projects and understand what we want from them. Peter?
Supposed to be a professional after all. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So listen, Switzerland, PMI Switzerland, we have a long relationship together. It's amazing. So yes, Rory, you talked about the book Lazy Project Manager, written in 2009. In fact, Switzerland was one of the first places I went to start presenting web sessions based on the Lazy Project Manager. And it's been amazing to continue that journey over many, many years. If you don't know me, then you can go to lazyprojectmanager.com and check me out. If you know of me, then you don't need to do that. I will introduce someone else right now, though, and because it's not just going to be me presenting, it's going to be a gentleman called Tim. He's the CEO of Office Timeline. So, Tim, do you want to say hello to folks right now?
Yes, I would. I'm Tim Stumbles. I'm the CEO of Office Timeline, and I loved watching Swiss play France with my son the other day. I will use the word of the day and say there was lots of goal-scoring creativity. It was awesome.
You had to get the football in there somewhere, Tim. Thanks for that. And obviously, as as an Englishman, I'm quite happy without what's going on as well. So we'll move on swiftly from that. You've got all my details. I'm not going to talk about that now. There's more important things to talk about. But you know, it has been an incredible year and a half, nearly. I mean, it was Switzerland was the last place I went to. I had the opportunity to present at CERN and do some training, and I'd also been to Zurich. And I got on a plane in February 2020 and had no idea what was going to be facing the world, obviously. And you know, it's incredible what's gone on. And well done to all the chapters and you know, the great program that you've got, for example. And listen, a physical event like the 20th anniversary, very, very exciting. I'm going to just drop in. It is the day before my birthday, so you know, very happy to get an invitation. Anyway, let's move on. I'm going to use menti.com. Hopefully you've used Menti. It is very simple to do. You just go to menti.com, go and grab your phone right now, just put in menti.com. When it comes up, you just have to key in that. Joe, first person, well done. Just key in that code, the 10366209, put that in and say hi, basically. This is just a warm up. This is just to kind of get going, yeah? Nothing particular here. We're just going to do this, but we are going to use the Menti to do some kind of real sort of thought insights into how you feel about stakeholder reporting, how you feel about executive reporting, how you feel about the whole thing, actually. So hi, Chris, hi, Michelle, hi, Pierre, hi, Tim. Yeah, of course, good. Tim's here. Matt, Margalie, someone called hi there. Very good. Thierry. Come on, keep them going. Hans. Yeah, I'm a real fan of Menti because it's a lot of fun. And actually, as you were told earlier on, you're going to get the slides after the event. And what I will do is I actually, once I close this down, probably tomorrow morning, I'll get a PDF of the slides sent across, and I'll have all of the Menti input as well. So you can kind of have a reminder of what it is you said. So keep them coming in. Keep them coming in. Feliciana, Tibor, Sonia, Paolo. Great selection of names. Fuzzball. I don't think that's your name. I don't think that's your name at all. All right, keep them coming in. Keep joining, will you? So what is your role in project management? I'd like to understand, you know, what it is you do. Are you a project manager? Are you a program manager? Are you a project director? Are you a PMO team member? Are you a PMO leader? I mean, are you a portfolio manager? I mean, what are you, business analyst? What is it you do? Right, project managers, great. Project manager, good. Consultant, PMO leader, great job, PMO leader. Excellent job. I've loved it. All of the opportunities I've had to work with PMOs have been amazing. Well, you know, great experience in project management as well. A project manager and a project consultant, PMO lead, a project manager again, senior project manager, project facilitator, technical program manager, project manager. Yeah, good. All right. So you're all going to know exactly what it is I'm talking about here. You're going to know exactly the conversation that we're going to have around project reporting. But before we do that, tell me honestly, and look, Menti doesn't track you, yeah? Menti tracks the results of what you say. It does not track you, so I can't point out who put down the crazy stuff. But project reporting, do you love it? Do you quite enjoy it? Do you think it's okay? It's a necessary evil, you hate it, you avoid it completely, or you delegate it? Be honest, really be honest. You know, it's just between friends right now. Some people loving it. Fascinating, loving it, quite enjoying it. It's okay, it's a necessary evil, hate it. Nobody avoids it. Well done. I mean, to professionals, I like that. Nobody's delegating it. You're getting on and doing it. So it's interesting, actually. I'd say this is quite high. Maybe this is a Swiss thing. I don't know. But you know, Tim and I have done this a few times, and I would say there's slightly more love for project reporting here than we've seen beforehand. But there is generally that kind of bell curve we tend to see, and you know, people have a lot of challenges with it. So thanks. Look, what have we got? We've got status reports, we've got risk reports, we've got board and executive reports, we've got resource reports, you've got variance reports, you've got so many reports. The project reporting is almost a full-time activity, it seems sometimes. Certainly when I reflect back on my experience as a project manager, it felt like that sometimes. There was always someone wanted another report, another piece of information delivered in a different way to everything else. And it's quite challenging. It's challenging because at the heart of what you do as a project manager, you are communicating. You are communicating, and you need to effectively communicate things about your project, particularly to executives, stakeholders. You have to deliver the right information to the right person in the right way at the right time. Now, let's unravel that, because you've got to get all of these things right. Yeah, you can deliver the right information to the right person in the right way, but if you do it at the wrong time, you will fail to effectively communicate. You've either delivered something too early and it's not relevant, or too late and it's definitely not relevant. You know, maybe you can deliver the right information in the right way at the right time, but to the wrong person. The same problem applies. The same problem applies. You have failed to effectively communicate. And as project managers, this is what we have to do. This is what we have to get correct. We have to get all four of these in place in order to be effective. And that's not always so easy. It's not always so easy. And you know, if you've heard me present before, you will probably remember this, because I say this a lot. Reporting is not communicating. Yeah. The fact you produced the most wonderful 16-page report with graphs and diagrams and images and fonts and beautiful layout, and you put it all together with every single data point there is possible on the project activity and status, and you put it together and you email it to every single stakeholder and their best friend, the chances are that you will probably have failed to communicate to anybody effectively. You've failed to communicate because it's just too much information. I reflect back to when I started in life and in business, and my job then was to take the big printout reports. So these are the days when we used to print out on those multi-carbon layered green striped bits of paper, large bits of paper. And these reports used to come out from the centralized system, and they would be like that thick. And I would have to decollate them, take all the carbon out, and then put them together again. And then I would have to go and take them around to the business leaders and present them with their reports. And a week later, my job was to go around and bring the new report and take the old report away. And many times I would notice that some of these reports I brought out last week were just in the same condition because nobody had looked at them. That manager had not looked at them because there was just too much information in there. Now, we've moved on a long way, but at the end of the day, it comes back to this. When you are communicating, reporting to a stakeholder or anybody, you have to get these things in place. You have to have the right information. You have to give it to the right person. You have to deliver it in the right way that suits them and you. And you have to deliver it in a timely way, the right time. So what is your biggest frustration? We're back to you guys now. What is your biggest frustration when it comes to project reporting? What have you got out there? Yeah, what gets you going? What really do you struggle with, or what really annoys you? What challenges you? What's your biggest frustration with project reporting? Yeah, maybe it's the timing. Oh, here we got one. This was no one reads them. Yeah, that's exactly what I was describing earlier on. Those reports went out. Nobody read them. It's not true. I mean, some people were quite good at looking at those reports, but many of the managers weren't. The tool you're trying to use, it's complicated, it's difficult. All right. Lots of repetition. There is. Unfortunately, there really is a lot of repetition. Quality of the data. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible in these days, isn't it? You know, we work in some of the greatest technology out there these days. I mean, compared to when I was first starting in project management, the underlying technology and systems, the ERP systems, or whatever it is you're using, still the data is very questionable in many cases. No one reads them. Yeah. Too much reporting on stuff that is not actually not relevant. Better selection would help to be more precise. I'll talk about that shortly, about the fact that for executives, you've got to find out what is critical to them, because at the point of this is you are trying to educate them about the status of your project. Time-consuming manual work, absolutely. Similar reports to different groups, not coordinated. Again, you know, how do you deliver in the right way, as I've described, without actually having to replicate and duplicate or create different versions? It's very challenging. Status is ambiguous, yes. They need clarity, getting the stakeholders buy-in. Well, that's kind of what you're reporting, isn't it? You're trying to get their buy-in and their commitment. You want to update them, and you want to get their support where you need them. It does not necessarily help to get the work done. So look at one more. Reports are due by time period, not by milestone. Yes, there's kind of a rigid, we'll talk about the cadence reporting shortly. We talk about some of the big problems with project reporting. It is, you touched on it already, you know, kind of not including what your audience actually needs, or even understanding what your audience actually needs. Lack of standardized templates. I mean, one of the most overwhelming things for executives, if I'm spinning it from their point of view now, is to receive project updates. When I started out in Siemens and was running the PMO there, and the first thing I was getting Word updates, PowerPoint updates, Excel updates. I was getting email bullet point updates. To try and consume that and understand what's going on is very, very difficult. So not having some kind of standardized template, I mean, it can't be too rigid because you want flexibility. You want to allow the creativity and the sharing of information. But equally, if you're looking, trying to review, you know, let's say 10 projects in a meeting, it's very difficult if there is not some degree of standardization. Too much information, too much detail. Yes, again, it's got to be pertinent information. It's got to be appropriate. It's got to be specific to what's needed without going into too much detail. The detail will come from the exception of, well, let's explore that. Can you tell me more about that? Or can we look at the system? Unused project reports, we've talked about that. You've talked about that. Absolutely, very, very frustrating when they are ignored completely. And then the other way I go about, you know, let's accept, we talked about data just now, but you know, if there is a mistake, one of the worst things is just leave it in there. Is to keep repeating that mistake. It devalues the accuracy and you know, if you like, the value of the report itself. You need to actually be able to be honest and say there was a mistake. That bit of data was wrong. That date was wrong. Whatever. Correct it. So that there is belief and faith in the reports that you're bringing out there. I love this one. This is Cohen's law. And Cohen's law says the more time you spend in reporting on what you are doing, the less time you have to do anything. Think about that. Stability is achieved when you spend all your time doing nothing but reporting on the nothing that you are doing. And then it becomes very, very accurate. You know, you're not getting in it. Nothing's happening. There's no progress, but you have unbelievable detailed reports going out about that lack of progress. So let's think about your project executives now, because this is about stakeholder reporting. What are your project executives looking for in project reports? And whilst people are coming up with their ideas on this one, Tim, you're an executive. What's your view? What are you looking for in life?
Yeah, it's a good question. Our company's about 100 people, really, for business units. I think what's most useful for me with regard to reporting is exactly that, right information in the right way. I like to see really high-level stuff because it really helps me orchestrate plans across different teams. And so if my one team is presenting me with a timeline and I can get a high-level view from another team, I can see where the dependencies are, and I can make sure those conversations are happening so things are orchestrated properly. I think that's really where I get a lot of value out of project reporting and updates.
All right, cool. Thank you. Let's see what people say. We're looking for a green light. They're looking for it's all good to go. Absolutely. Information to ensure value and guide their decisions. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, remember, these people are the ones who are ultimately responsible for the project success and failure, not you, the project manager, the executive, the sponsors, and they need to make decisions based on this. They should be looking at how they can help you. Absolutely. Anybody who's getting these kind of reports, it should be, what's the situation? What are the challenges? How can we help you overcome these challenges and be successful? Clear options and choices, yes. High-level information, yeah, they want that, and they want the ability to go into detail if necessary. So it means you, as a project manager, you've got to be ready to respond to that. Good question. Traffic lights, yeah. Progress. I want to see how you're getting on. Cost, times, the risk, yes. Timelines, risks, mitigation, and making sure everything's under control. Or if there are issues, being very open. Love this one. Transparency about the issues. You know, okay, this is a problem, but this project is facing a problem. How do we resolve it? How can I get your help? Green colors again. Perfect. And one last question here. What are the biggest challenges you face in reporting to those senior stakeholders? Now, maybe we covered it already. Maybe, we touched on, the quality of data, the fact that, you can't get your senior stakeholders to even read the report. So, what do you see as your big challenges right now? Okay, here we go. Not knowing what they really want to know. Yeah, I think that, I think that sums it up beautifully. That's an excellent response. It is, most of the stakeholders don't actually necessarily know what it is they need to know. And that's one of the times, when I run PMOs and I start working with the various leaders around the world, getting them to articulate what it is they want out of project reporting and what's important to them, and coming up with that kind of template is really, really hard work, but absolutely critical. You've got to get them to read them. You've got to get them to value what they sending out is too frequent, too much detailed information, get an engagement again. Absolutely. You've got to connect with them. You've got to connect to them. And there's kind of misalignment between the stakeholders. One more, right level of detail again. Yeah, brilliant. Really thank you for your feedback on this one. So, I'm having this opportunity to speak to you today because the kind of work I've done with Office Timeline, and they're kind of sponsoring this event. So thank you to Tim and the team at Office Timeline for that. But we first connected. I was running a PMO at Aptos, retail software company, and it was interesting because this was our challenge. Our challenge was an executive inside this organization is responsible for quite a lot of client-facing projects. Many projects are constantly on the go. These sort of companies that I work for, they're running thousands of projects a year and hundreds of project managers around the world. So every executive is trying to review and keep tabs of a lot of projects, and typically they will be reviewing up to 10 projects every week in some degree of detail to understand what's going on. And one of the big challenges what we had, because we had the underlying technology, we had Microsoft projects, etc. But trying to get these guys to kind of present to these guys a simple visual representation of where the project was really, really difficult. And one of the project managers actually came across Office Timeline, loved it, started using it, and started sharing it with their colleagues. And eventually they shared it with the PMO and myself. And eventually we took that as a standard tool. And that's what Tim's going to show you a bit later on, because it's all about how do you deal with this kind of recurring cadence of project reporting, because there's a lot. It's exactly where I started. There's weekly, monthly, quarterly, and much, much more. And so you've got to simplify it as much as possible. And I'm always conscious that you don't want to burden project managers with yet another piece of complicated technology or requirement, or to replicate or duplicate data. Because it is at the heart of it, the reporting challenge. And the number one way to improve the success probability, I believe, of your project is to nail stakeholder buy-in, because if you've got that stakeholder buy-in, they will be your partner, your help, your guide, your supporter. How do you do that? Well, I think it is to give them very uncomplicated visual project updates so they can actually understand what's going on with your projects, and then they can help you. How do you do that? Well, this is where I take a breather and hand over to Tim. And Tim, you're ready? Let's take us on a journey. How can we do that? Not hearing you, Tim.
Okay. Can you see my?
Yeah.
So, that word cadence, I think, would be a good way to start this conversation. I used to work at Microsoft. We were in a really rigorous cadence there called the rhythm of the business. It meant monthly reports, and every month we were creating timelines. And it was painful for a couple reasons. In that culture, they wanted everything in PowerPoint. And of course, monthly meant we were creating these timelines all the time, and it took a lot of time to do. They were painful to make in PowerPoint. They were brittle whenever you wanted to change them, and that really is the essence of Office Timeline. So if you can see my screen, you can see that we built, what we did to kind of solve this problem was build a PowerPoint add-in. Just to be clear, I left Microsoft and we started this. We're a Microsoft Gold partner. And so we left and we built this add-in into PowerPoint. You can see it here. And it really creates kind of interesting visuals for executives. I'll take you just through a couple quickly, and then we'll walk through 3 scenarios that might help you better understand it. So we kind of have this concept of a waterfall slide. This is a pretty simple visual. There's some interesting things here. You can see that on this slide, I've got task duration turned on for the assemble resources. All the yellow tasks have task duration, but notice below, prototype and the blue tasks don't. Alternatively, instead of task duration, they have chosen to put the date on. So you can see the task date button in the Office Timeline Controller is turned on. It gives you the ability to really create interesting visuals. Here's another pretty simple slide, and we'll get into some more complicated ones, but you can see I've got my time band set to quarters. You can even set that to a language that you would like. I've got milestones on top of tasks, and I've turned % complete on for the blue tasks, but not the white tasks beneath it. You can color and customize your slides. You can fit into your corporate templates. And going back to that point that Peter was making about standardization, you can add a template right into Office Timeline and just use that template every time across your team to kind of deliver your executives something familiar, something consistent. So we also think a little bit about sort of swim lane slides. That's what I'd call this. I'm now thinking about either programs or showing my execs multiple projects on a slide. You can see you can put your tasks and your milestones into a particular swim lane. And then if we take that one step further, we can even think about sub swim lanes. So now I'm starting to think about programs. How am I presenting my programs to my stakeholders, my steering committee, those kind of things? I can divide them up, multiple programs or projects or functional areas or teams, whatever you would like to do. And I can divide them up sort of into sub swim lanes as well and give a little more granularity on the time band. So that's a quick orientation of sort of the visuals that we create. I'd like to just step through 3 quick scenarios and kind of show you around the tool a little bit, and then I'm going to kick it back to Peter. So let me just show you scenario 1. And in scenario 1, I'm thinking, wow, I don't have a lot of time to create a nice looking visual, especially spending time styling it with different colors, you know, with different shapes, all of these things. I don't have time to kind of go and pick all of these things out. So what I'd like to do is just use a template. So I go into new, all of this is inside PowerPoint. You never leave PowerPoint. And I'm going to look for a template. I go a new one from scratch. I'll use this quick project because it's got Swiss red on it. I'm not sure if that's Swiss red. When I accept that template, it downloads all of the data in that template, which is not my data. And there's a little bit of tediousness here if I have to overwrite all this stuff, if I have to choose my dates in this date picker. So what we built to help speed this up is a drag and drop UI. And now inside PowerPoint, I'm manipulating the time band to however I'd like. So these are not my milestones. Well, let's make them my milestones by typing something in. These are not my dates. Well, let's make them my dates by moving to the correct place. So I'm overwriting existing stuff. If I want to add a milestone or task, I can right here, add a new task, grab the end date, drag it to whatever you want. That end date's now January 14th. Grab the start date, move that around, and then manipulate it a little bit. You see, I can try and get as many things in a row as possible. This really saves space. Space is a premium with timelines. That's something I learned in my past job is there's always more data than execs probably want to see. You can also add a swim lane. So I can add a swim lane from here. I can add a sub swim lane if I wanted to. I can add another sub swim lane if I wanted to. I can drag these things into each particular swim lane. And so you get the sense for this type of scenario. This type of scenario is go grab a template outside Office Timeline, use the drag and drop, type your own data in here, or just delete it and add your own. And then you can start building out your timeline. When it gets to the finish point, you can resize it. Again, space is a premium. You're going to want to put some, probably put some of these things in a row like that. You can also put milestones on top of tasks. Once you get your slide, you hit the create button and it creates a timeline for you. So that's scenario number 1, pretty quick, right? You use a template. The heavy part of that was the data entry. You're typing a lot of stuff. So in scenario 2, let's assume that you have your data in another place. Is it in Jira? Is it in Excel? If you can get your data to Excel, we can just copy directly out of Excel, paste it right into Office Timeline inside PowerPoint, and it'll spit out a slide for you. So let me show you that now. Here is my messy desktop. All Office Timeline needs is a start date, an end date, and a title. If it's missing one date, Office Timeline is going to say that's a milestone. If it's got 2 dates, it's a task. So let's take this data set, and instead of pasting this, because it would just be a pretty simple sort of waterfall slide, let's add a swim lane. Okay, this doesn't need to be called swim lanes. It could be teams, geographies, resources, whatever you would like. And now if I take all of this data and paste it into Excel, I'll have a swim lane slide. But let's go one step further. Let's add sub swim lanes, right? So now I've got my data set as title, start date, end date, and sub swim lanes. I grab this stuff, just a quick Control C. I go back to Office Timeline. I go back to that place I showed you originally, but I'm not going to choose a template from the template gallery here. Instead, I'm going to click this big plus button, which is how you create a new one from scratch. And I'm not going to spend my time setting up the timeline, choosing whether it's a task or a milestone, because that would take forever. So what I'm just going to do is paste it. And so it's going to paste that data right into Excel, right into PowerPoint, and create a slide that looks like this. I'm just checking, did I get a, okay, so it creates a little slide like this. You get a little proxy for what it looks like. I've got 10 tasks, 13 milestones. You can see there when I hit create, it creates the visual. Now it'll create it in its default colors, which won't be your colors. So what you'd probably want to do is at some point create a template, style up a slide the way you like it, hit this big plus button and save it as my template. These ones here are templates that I've created before, and I'm just going to apply that template there, and it's going to change it into something that I can work a little bit. Whoops, I think I got the wrong template. Let me try another one there. Oh, yep, sorry. I need a swim lane template, sub swim lane template. And so it'll move it into some kind of format like that. There's a little bit of cleanup that I might want to do here. Again, north-south space is such a premium on a slide. So the place to do that is that drag and drop. And again, just move things into a row. Very easy, very web-like experience inside PowerPoint to manipulate. You can manipulate the task positions, and you can manipulate the text position. So if I want to drag that one up there, I can't get him. And I end up with something like that. Okay, there's something interesting about these two slides that I want to talk about. Neither of them are connected to your data source. So when I was in that rhythm of the business cadence, I didn't have the ability to take my January slide and just refresh it when I'm in my February presentation. So the last scenario that I want to show you is actually importing your data from project. If you can import your data, you can do it from project or Excel. You can synchronize. That means every time your data changes on the back end, and you're coming into that presentation again in February in the scenario, is I would just hit the synchronize button, and tasks that were no longer tasks would be removed, and dates that had changed would change, and new tasks that had been added to Microsoft Project would be reflected on the timeline. So let me show you that now. So basically I've got project open here. I've added, so it's a lot of data. A rule of thumb is about 30 rows of data. This exceeds that. So what I've done is I've added a column here called executive timeline. Think of this as the view you want to give your execs. And you just go and say, yes, I want that item, I want that item, I want that item on the slide. We can import and filter on this. I've also added a column called swim lane. You can see it here. So this project's called Our Project. Let's go and import it. So we go back to Office Timeline, back to that same place. Again, never leaving PowerPoint. This is all inside PowerPoint. I can browse for a Microsoft project file. Let's browse it. I think it was called that one, and bring in the data. If I want to remap a column, if Office Timeline didn't get it right, I can remap it here. But let's just say for the purpose of this demo, we're just going to go through it. It brings in all 87 rows of data, far too many. I can sit and cherry pick the ones I want, but that would take time. So the easier way is you can certainly filter down on project filtering and get it down to a smaller data set. But what I wanted to show you was how can we filter on all those yeses we choose. So we've got we chose. So we got a filtering option here. And I'm going to go in, choose executive timeline. That's the column I added. Contains exactly yes. And it'll bring in all of that data. And let's select them all. It's 18 rows of data. I import. And now I go and I apply my template. So what's different about this slide? So let's apply our template, whichever one. What's different about this slide, it's connected. And so if that data ever changes, and I'm going to simulate that now, we're going to look, let's just say these two things for simplicity, these two things change, scope and scope complete. So let's go back to Excel, find scope and scope complete. Let's say this one slipped back a month, or sorry, that's a week. My brain's not working well. Okay, so we save that, and now we go and synchronize, and it's looking for changes and saying, hey, something's changed and you've got a decision to make. Do you want to show your execs what's on the slide right now, or do you want to update that slide and show them what's in your project data? When I hit that, if it will automatically update. So Peter, I'm at 10:15, or sorry, 7:15. I'm going to kick this back to you, and we'll roll on.
All right, thank you. I can just take it back there. I've got a couple of slides just to wrap things up. Yeah, thanks, Tim. It is, yeah. You can get, there's a question already on how you can get this. There is a free trial license. I'm going to put it in chat in a minute. You're going to get that, etc. But just to wrap up the kind of presentation part, because I can see some questions coming in. But it comes down to this, as far as I'm concerned. It's about picture superiority. Look at all those words on that lovely screen. It's breaking every rule of presentation there with all those words. You won't remember that. However, this is what picture superiority is all about. This is why something like Office Timeline works. If you write the word circle, for example, in 72 hours, only 10% of you will remember the word circle. If you draw a circle, if you give a picture of something, then actually 65% of you will remember what it was you were talking about 72 hours later. This is the power of picture visualization and representing complex data, complex project landscapes in this kind of simplified way. And this is why it actually does absolutely work. It comes back to this, and you can't escape this. There's lots you can read about communication. It's even more complicated than this. But if you don't get the right information in the right way at the right time and deliver it to the right person, you are going to fail to communicate. And your executives don't need that. You don't need that for your executives either. You need that partnership. You need that relationship. You need that understanding. And I said I will put this in chat right now, but at this point, let's move across to the questions, because yeah, we're good. We're done. There we go. And right, I need to put my glasses on this so I can read them. Tim, I know there's a couple of questions. I think the first ones were definitely for you. So yeah, the first one is Office Timeline Pro only for PowerPoint?
It is a PowerPoint add-in. There's another product we offer called Office Timeline Online. Either of those creates not only PowerPoint images, but also PDFs and PNGs, so it can be used beyond PowerPoint. Good question. Okay, right. How do I get this plugin for PowerPoint? Well, I put a link on there on chat. Go look at chat. That's a good way. Or they can go to Office Timeline as well, can't they, Tim? Yeah, they can look on that chat, because we will provide you a complimentary key as well. So we have a free version that has some limitations. Get the key, upgrade it to the Pro Plus version. Nice. What's the next question? Oh, how do you get data from Jira? Well, again, Jira's everywhere. Do you export to Excel then to Office Timeline, or is there a sync between Jira and Office Timeline? Yeah, it's a round trip. So integration, we have integration with Smartsheet, with Rike, with Project and Excel, but any other PM tool you can create timelines like I showed you. You just have to get that data into Excel. And again, it just needs a title, a start date, and an end date. So it's a little bit of a round trip. We'll be adding more and more integrations. All right, perfect. I've got one more question left, but please, if you've got questions out there, don't be shy. Oh yeah, there comes one. I'm going to go straight to the next question. I'm going to come back to Christopher's question, because this one is for you as well, Tim. Does it work with PowerPoint for Mac? you'd need the online version for Mac. So it is a Windows, the add-in that I showed, the Pro Plus add-in that I showed today is a Windows only. Office Timeline Online is a SaaS application that Mac users use.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so keep the questions coming in. I'm going to take the next one because it's about, well, I'm going to start the answer. Tim, obviously got some views and share it with us. But, you know, how do you actually get an executive to say what they're going to be reporting? We heard this earlier on, you know, of trying to understand what executives want and what executives try to explain what they want. It's a difficult process, to be honest. The way I've done it, and you know, it may work for you, it may not, but the way I've done it is to individually talk to the executives and get them to try and describe what they're trying to, you know, what is it they, not the detail, not the data, you understand what it is they would like to understand or appreciate about the project status. You know, it's kind of looking at the kind of the outcome situation. And it often comes down to very simplistic. They want to know what progress has been made, what challenges are likely or anticipated, and how can they help? With typically the kind of three typical things. But once you've got that individual, then the next thing I kind of done is create a template, and I've worked with a group of executives and said, look, if you get this, if you get something like this, and the project manager is ready to answer more detailed questions as well, would that work for you? And to be honest, it takes a few iterations to get to a point where we have a very standardized reporting mechanism. It takes a while for everybody to understand what they're looking for, what they're trying to report, and to make sure that the right piece of information is in there. So it's, you know, it takes a bit of effort, but once you've got there, then it's a really positive thing, I think. The next one is, can timeline compare baseline versus latest thinking? From Tibor.
So actual versus planned, not yet, but there's all sorts of ways around that. So typically, so in the scenario I gave you, I imported from project. Let's say that was my January import. I just copy that slide. I paste it down below. That's my February slide. That connection to project stays there. So I just update my February slide. So I don't have it all on one slide, which is, I know what you're asking for, Tibor. But you can just have an archive of your previous PowerPoint slides, and they'll show planned versus actual.
All right.
So kind of a hacky way to do that, but it's possible.
All right, thanks, Tim. How do you get alignment when a new executive comes on board and is a crucial stakeholder to your project? Well, let me take a stab at this one. I think whenever anybody comes onto your project team or your reporting structure, you need to onboard them. And I think the first thing is to onboard them with well, this is the way we do executive reporting. This is the way we do project reporting, and to explain it to them. Now, I think with anybody that's new comes in, it's always interesting to get them to give you feedback after they've gone through a reporting cycle, you know, a couple of times perhaps, of like, well, did you experience something in your past career that was better than this? Is there something missing for you? Is there a way we can improve it? So I think that kind of double approach really works. Onboard them so they understand what's going on, and they're not sitting there going, right, I need to decide what project reporting I get, and I'm going to create it something completely different. Show them what's available, and then go back to them and get feedback and see if it can be enhanced. I think is the way to do that one. What do you think project reporting will look like in 5 years? You know what, this is a whole new topic, and I'd love to come back and talk about this. AI in project management, I think, is going to be absolutely huge and enormous and massively impactful, and it will radically change a lot of what we're talking about today. You know, there's many reports out there, analysis out there. Gartner said 80% of what a project manager does today will be done by AI in 2030, and the job of the project manager will be completely different. You know me, I like to write a book, and yes, I've just finished going through the editing cycle for a new book called AI and the Project Manager. It will be out in October. Opportunities to come back and speak to Switzerland all about that one. So that's my view. Tim, have you got a view of what project reporting is going to look like in 5 years?
We're seeing a lot of requests to move our product to sort of a portal view, where we can roll up a lot of different timelines into a single portal. I think there are some portal tools out there that are not really delivering very well, but I anticipate that over time they will improve. So I'm seeing a movement really out to the cloud a little bit.
Okay, perfect. I think we've got a couple more questions. Let's see if we can get those done before I hand back to Florian to start to wrap things up. Can you get an executive who hasn't got the plugin view Office Timeline outputs?
Yeah, it's native PowerPoint. So everything that was created by Office Timeline is a native PowerPoint slide. That was the objective because slides can go anywhere. So often execs would take our slides and put them into their executive reviews. So they can do that because it's a native PowerPoint slide. The answer is yes.
All right, perfect. And oh, we always get this one. So this is about Agile team, you know, anything for Agile reporting.
You know, that's funny because we run Agile sprint. We run sprints here, and I get sprint reports done in sort of a kind of a timeline view. So we think about a Kanban board a little bit, and that is on a sort of a long-term radar, but not a lot more in terms of what we're building beyond that right now.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when it gets to the kind of executive level, it's you know, it's more of a summation of status than the kind of in Agile moments. But yep, I think that's a good answer. And I think at that point, with a view to keeping us on track and on time, well, because just hang on, one more question's come up, and this will be the last one. What is the best medium to create status reports apart from PowerPoint slides, and is still complete and active?
Attractive.
Attractives. Oh, attractives. Thank you for reading the right word. What is the best medium? I don't know. You know, so I've used PowerPoint. PowerPoint is my home, so I've always drifted in that direction, I guess.
Yeah. It's tricky, right? So there's tools out there, Visio, Excel. There's independent standalone timeline makers, and then of course, PM tools have their own charts. But a lot of that stuff is just not right for the executive. The lesson that we learned, or I learned, was that executives like stuff really high level. They do not want it to be complicated. And I didn't want it to be complicated because that would often lead to a rat hole sort of discussion. Mm-hmm. So I think there's been this gap in the market, and Office Timeline's been able to come in and really create some nice looking stuff there.
Brilliant, brilliant, and thank you. You've given some great questions, and I'm gonna find the very last one. Sorry, Florian, I keep saying last question, but I think this is an interesting one for Tim to answer. You know, what's your competitive advantage? What stops Microsoft, Asana, Monday, etc., taking over?
Yeah, that's a great question. I understand Microsoft's strategy pretty well. I think we're a little too vertical for them. And honestly, we get asked by the other big ones to integrate. We're integrated in things like PlanView. So they take our code and they put it in their product. They just have not placed it as a priority. They get requests that they need to improve their stakeholder reporting tools, but they're so focused on all sorts of other things that it's just a small priority, and it enables us to create a market space. So we've been lucky.
All right, fantastic. Florian, I'm going to hand it back to you, but everybody else, thank you for your time and happy reporting. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. So some good news indeed. AI is coming, so we can finally retire. Let's just hope they don't mess up everything. And Tim, special thank you to you. I left Microsoft 10 years ago, and the moment you say rhythm of business, it brought back memories about reporting. So thank you very much to both of you for your presentations. And thank you very much to the organizing team. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your help. I was mentioning at the beginning some events, and it brings me great joy to present this slide, because as you can see, on that column that says mode, we have quite a few that say in person. So yes, finally, we can meet in person. So we'll continue with the virtual events, the open space, the virtual coffees, but we're getting back to normal, or to normality. So we have an event about agility, around the buzzword in agility, in person on 31st of August. Then our big party, our big barbecue in September. You see here the 20th anniversary. We have a masterclass, again, September, and our big conference. So looking forward to actually seeing you face to face in this event. It's been a while, and I think we all deserve this. We do have this slide here about becoming a volunteer. I recently joined PMI Switzerland as a volunteer, and I think you all agree with me if I would say that I think we're very lucky to have chosen this profession. especially in project management. I mean, it has everything it needs to have. It's thrilling, it's excitement, it's, maybe some challenges also. So if you feel that you need to contribute, give back, help others, please do not hesitate to join us, to become a volunteer. We have lots of challenges for you. We can always use some help and some experience from people who are in project management. Also, don't hesitate to follow us. I think we're everywhere. What's missing here? We're not on TikTok, but we're everywhere. So please get in touch, follow us. You'll be in contact with us and aware of all the events we're preparing. You also have the links in the chat here. And before we say goodbye, just take a couple of minutes for the quick survey. Here is the QR code. There's also a link. And for those who are certified, also the PDU code. So I hope this was interesting for you. I think this was quite interesting to see some different perspectives in reporting. Always a pleasure to have Peter and Tim here. Thank you very much, and looking forward to meet with you in our next events, virtually or in person. Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.